Hello, I'm Ravneet Singh. I'm doing MSc in Machine Learning and Intelligence from Liverpool John Moores University. So today I'm going over the presentation of my thesis work in during this course. So I have worked on predicting weather information using machine learning and artificial intelligence. So starting with the motivation and background. So weather is one of the main factors which governs all living beings in this planet. And with increase in urbanization and human intervention, we see there has been vast changes in weather and environmental conditions. So the various natural phenomena like tsunami, cyclones, rainfall, droughts have been increased in recent times, and there is a huge advantage if we have an algorithm which can predict these conditions before time with some good precision, and these can help take the relative communities some preventive measures to decrease the impact and handling of such conditions. Apart from these natural phenomena, if we have a good prediction of weather such as the temperature, rainfall, we can plan our day-to-day activities better and with better efficiency, and it can also help take care of ourselves and our families better. So weather forecast, there are various areas in weather forecast which have wide range of impact. So we have seen this in our literature review. Few of them are like temperature prediction. So prediction of temperature helps in varieties of sectors like agriculture, crops, and global warming. So the sudden rise and drop in temperature can have huge effect on our day-to-day activities and our day-to-day lives. And if we have information of these drastic temperature rise or fall, we can plan our activities better and we can take care of our lives in a better and an efficient way. Similarly, the rainfall prediction. So rainfall is a major phenomena which drives the agriculture sector. So high amount of rainfall can have a destructive effect on agriculture, and it can lead to floods and landslides in areas in mountain areas, and it can also indicate the coming of a bigger storm or a cyclone. So predicting rainfall is extremely helpful. It can help to take the adequate measures to reduce the consequence of such high rainfall. Basically, we can evacuate the people who are more closer to the areas where high rainfall is perceived or predicted. And other area is like crops. So agriculture is one of the main sector of all the countries. So in order to country to flourish, the crop rate and crop yield should be good. So having the factors known which help to increase the crop yield is very important to flourish this sector. And if we have a good prediction about how the crop yield can grow, we can manage it better and we can see how we can increase it. So in turn, the rate at which these crops are sold can decrease if we are able to get a good yield, and it can help the all sectors of the community. Now coming to the problem statement which we will be solving in this thesis work. So here we will be focusing on the prediction of temperature. So the prediction of temperature relates to time series prediction in machine learning. So from the literature review, we saw there are traditional many methods which can accomplish the temperature prediction, but there has always been a problem of low precision with which this prediction has been made, and which can further leads to problems. And with advancement of advanced machine learning and artificial algorithms, this precision level has been increased and there is big boost in this area. And also with increase of mobile technologies and wireless technologies, we have noticed like the amount of data which is being captured from the sensors or from the wireless device is more, and it's more accurate, and in turn this helps our development of machine learning algorithms. So prediction can be made in hourly, monthly or daily basis. And in our case study, we will be focusing on the daily prediction of temperature. So coming to our aims and objectives, so basically we will propose two machine algorithms for time series prediction. So the algorithms which we will be modeling are neural networks, which we will build from one-dimensional convolution neural network and long short-term memory network. And the other model which we will be doing is ARIMA, which is short form for autoregressive integrated moving average. Dataset which we will be using is Delhi India dataset, and it is freely available from Kaggle. The link is shown. And before modeling, we will also analyze a dataset, and our objective is to do necessary pre-processing here, so that the data which we input to our algorithm is free from outliers, missing values, and it's divided into training and testing, and we don't use the testing dataset at all during training of the model. And then we'll do exploratory data analysis to see how our features are related with each other, and we'll see some pointers of how the environmental and weather condition is present in Delhi. Lastly, we will perform the comparison between the two models. We'll use an appropriate evaluation matrix and see how the results are for the two, and we'll compare. And then we'll based upon that, we'll see any future scope of work which can be done over this study as further enhancement. So data set description. So below is the data set. So we see there are 20 columns present in the Delhi data set, and we have over 1 lakh records, which is very good. So data set contains records from 1996 to 2017, which is present in hourly basis. So we have the columns like temperature, which gives the temperature, and date time, which gives the date and time when this particular record was taken. And then we have conditions, which points out how the condition was. Then we have dew values, fog values, hail values, heat index, humidity level, precipitations, pressure values in the area. We have rainfall, if rainfall is happening at that time or not. Similarly, snow, thunder, tornado, and wind direction related parameters. So data, coming to data pre-processing. So we'll do appropriate pre-processing step, and we start with treating of missing values. So real-time data often has a lot of missing values, and that can be due to data collection errors or sensor or device malfunctioning, so that we get some erroneous values. So we follow below criteria. So picture in the left shows the percentage we have of the missing value. So we see there are columns like pressure, precipitation level, heat index, which have more than 50% missing values. So these columns are not of much use, and we'll basically remove these columns. And then we see there are columns like temperature and humidity levels, which have very low missing values, which is less than 1-2%. So the call, we have used the threshold of 6%, and all the columns which has less than 6% of missing values, we will impute them with mean. So we analyzed further, and we saw like the standard deviation for these are low, and we have a good mean graph. So we have decided them to impute with mean or mode if it's a categorical variable. And then after that, we saw there are around two columns wind direction which have more than 14% missing values, around 14% missing values. So we have decided to remove the records which has missing values in these columns. So since we have more than 1 lakh records, removing them is okay. So now coming to the categorical variables. So we saw there are categorical variables present in the data set, and we have two listed here like condition and wind direction. So checking the value counts of these, we saw like there were some values which have very less frequency, like for case of condition, it's squall, light rain. There are 2 or 3 values only for these. So we decided to club the similar values into one, so that we have more frequency count. So as an example, we have clubbed like rain showers, freezing rain, and clubbed them into a single value rain, and this increase the value counts, and it will be easier to do ED and processing on this categorical variable. Similarly, we have done it on the wind direction, and we have 8 major directions, and we have a good amount of value counts for these. Now coming to treating outliers, so outliers are very important to be checked and removed, because presence of outliers can be devastating during the modeling process, and we can see high error rates due to these, and the model not getting converged. So we have used box plots to see our outliers, and then use quantile methods, upper and lower quantiles, to check, identify, and remove these outliers. So this is, we have shown an example. I've shown an example of temperature here. So we see like the outliers which points to 60 and 70 degrees Celsius, which is very high value, and it's not nominal for Delhi region. So this is clearly an outlier, and we have removed those. And the box plot at the right shows a good one. So now coming to exploratory data analysis, we did EDA to understand the weather conditions in Delhi. And as we saw, we from the conditions frequency plot, we see like the haze and fog levels are very high, which shows like the amount of pollution in this area is high. Similarly, we see very less rain and thunderstorms in this area. And the temperature ranges between 30 to 35 mostly, and then it goes decreasing towards the edges. Similar thing we see in humidity between 45 to 55. And then moving forward, we clubbed all the temperature, hourly temperature values to monthly basis, and took an average, and we plotted the average temperature month against year as an heat map. So this shows the months January to December, and this shows the year from 96 to 2017, and the values in this heat map points to the temperature. So we can see like the temperature is relatively around 14 during January, February. Around January and February, the temperature is lower, and as we reach April, May, the temperature rises, and then again June, July, temperature is more, and then it goes decreasing, and it again decreases towards November, December. So data sampling, so as I said, like the data is present on hourly basis, and since we need to do daily temperature prediction, so we did sampling and combined the daily hourly temperature and got a single mean value which represents the temperature on that day. Following this, we had around 7480 days of data, which is available both for testing and training. So we plotted our data, and we see around for 7480 days we have a nice sinusoidal curve, and temperature being ranging from 10 to 40. So starting with our first model neural network modeling. So we have used past 30 days data to predict the value in the forthcoming day. So on the right, it shows how our model looks like. So we have used convolution 1D layers, started with the 1D convolution layer. So convolution neural network basically initially used to extract features from the images, can be used for time series data also with a filter, one-dimensional filter. And here we have used two one-dimensional CNN layers, and each layer has filter of size 2, which is learned during the modeling process. And we have feature maps, 250 feature maps output from the first layer and 128 from the second one. And then we did the max pooling, which reduces the output to half, and we have output is 14 into 128. Similarly, we used batch normalization and dropouts. The main aim for these is to avoid overfitting, and these two are really good to avoid these. And then we have LSTM layers with 50 cells. So LSTM, long short-term memory network, are very good for time series prediction. They are basically a variant of recurrent neural networks, which solves the problem of exploding and vanishing gradient. So LSTM has cells which learns the which basically remembers the values from arbitrary time interval, and then it has three gates which regulates the flow of information in these cells. So we have used three LSTM layers, and between these layers, three LSTM layers with 50 cells, and between these layers we have done batch normalization and dropouts to avoid overfitting. And after that, we have flattened the output of the last layer, and we fed it into a dense layer of 100 neurons, and the output of these is again batch normalized, and we added appropriate dropouts of 0.25, and then which is fed into another dense layer of one neuron. And this basically outputs our last variable, which is the temperature, which we have to predict. So in all of these layers, we found like the ReLU activation function is very good for us, and it did best. And we did some hyper tuning, and we found ReLU to be the best. And then similarly, Adam optimizer we saw was best for our model, was working best for our model. Loss function we used is mean square error, and then the another factor, important factor, is the learning rate, and we should make sure learning rate is not too high so that we don't reach the minima and revolves around that, and we also don't want it to be start with very low learning rate. So what we did was we use the callback learning rate, decrease learning rate on plateau, and with patience of 2 and reduction factor of 0.5. So every 2 epochs, if we don't learn, then the learning rate is reduced by 0.5. We didn't use any cooldown, and we let the learning rate reduce as low as possible. And like we got these by tuning all our hyperparameters, and we saw if we deepens the neural network more, we don't achieve much in MSC, and if we decrease any layers, then we were basically losing out on the precision. So with this, we see we have around 3,32,841 trainable parameters, 3,32,185 trainable parameters, and these are reasonable. And we found out I found out it doesn't require much computation power, and the amount of MSC we see in the next slide we get with these trainable parameters is good. So this is the prediction result. So after running around 300 epochs on this trained on the previous structured neural network, we found like our error rate is coming down nicely, and we got an MSC below 3, which is 2.58, which is quite good with such trainable parameters and consumption. Resource consumption. And this is the plot which shows the test data set. So yellow shows the actual values of temperature, and red shows the values predicted by our model. And we see the red is fitting quite nicely over the yellow ones, and we can see like our model is performing quite good. Now coming to our next model, which is ARIMA. So ARIMA model is basically made up of three components, which is AR, I, and MA. So AR is as the ARIMA stands for autoregressive component, and which basically indicates the number of previous lags we should use to predict our next observation. So this is being tuned using the ACF graph. So ACF is autocorrelation graph, and we see like the value of 1 is best suited. So basically, observation is highly correlated with itself. So we can ignore the value of 0, and the next highest value is 1. So if we have used P as 1 for our ARIMA modeling. Next is differencing required to make the time series stationary. So the stationarity is required for ARIMA, and it's must. So stationarity means like the mean value should be constant over time, and the variance should be constant in the fixed interval. So there are many methods to check stationarity, And we used augmented Dickey-Fuller test, whose null hypothesis states that the series is not stationary. And after doing this test, we got the very low p-value, which was around 2 into 10 to the power minus 10, 2 into 10 to the power minus 10, which is very low. And comparing with the significance level of 5%, it is less, so we can reject our null hypothesis and we can say like our series is already stationary, so we have taken differencing parameter to be 0. Then the next one is moving average, maximum window size, denoted by moving average or Q. So this is being tuned using PACF graph, which is the partial autocorrelation graph. So from this graph, basically partial autocorrelation means gets the correlation between two lags with intermediate dependencies removed. So from this we again see the value of 1 is good for the Q parameter, and we tune this to Q is equal to 1 and then trained our model. So below, after training, below is our ARIMA model. Looks like, so we have B naught constant plus beta 1 constant for the P value plus phi 1 constant for the Q value. So since we have P and Q is equal to 1, we are using the last one previous observation as lag and the last previous error rate for to predict our current value. So from our modeler, we saw B naught corresponds to 226.41, beta 1 to 0.98, and phi 1 to minus 0.4. So below is the graph visualization of what is happening with the test data when we performed prediction on the test data. So first of all, we got the mean square error of 43, which is quite high and it's not that good. And evidently, we can see from the graph for the test data, which is shown in the orange, and our prediction, which is shown in the green, is like we are kind of predicting only the mean value, and we are not able to take care about the trend in the temperature. So that's, and this explains like how we have getting high MSE. So ARIMA model, we see it's not performing as good as the neural network, which we'll see in the next slide. So conclusion, we see neural network worked really well with 1D CNN and LSTM, and it shows good prediction result for our time series. And we also noticed like we didn't had to make a very deep neural network with very high trainable parameter, and we were able to perform decently well with less than 3 MSE with decent trainable parameters. And on the other hand, ARIMA was not able to predict the trend in the temperature data set, and we saw it had a very high MSE of 43, and it was not able to basically predict the seasonality or the trend. So that's a future scope. We recommend to run some seasonal decomposition of the temperature and look for seasonalities and trend components. And then as a step forward, we can implement a seasonal autoregressive integrated moving average model, commonly known as SARIMA, to capture the trend, and can reduce the MSE to less than 43. So this is our study. Thanks everyone for uh, uh, taking a look, yeah, and listening. Thank you.